Ladies and gentlemen, we bought the unicorn of a Mini. That is the 2013 Mini GP, and until this year, that was the fastest, most powerful Mini you could buy. It's a unicorn, and for Mini collectors, that is the rarest of rare, and we bought it sight unseen. And in this video, we're gonna tell you everything that the dealer in Texas, Trophy Motors, told us that was wrong with it, and everything that really is wrong with it, because it's a bit of a mess. So let's cut to the chase, and Tommy, why don't you tell them about the GP, and then we'll show you all the issues that this car has.
You know, many people are a funny group of enthusiasts, and I know because we here at TFL are huge Mini fans, and this is one gem of a car. You see, every 7 years, Mini comes out with a very limited run of super high performance models called the GP. They are the most stripped down, the most track focused. They are full of unique GP parts that make them super collectible, and people really want these cars. That's why when you go to buy them, you really don't have a lot of choice because they are super rare on the used market.
Coming up this week on the Fast Lane Car, we take this car, the brand new electric Mini, up the world's toughest electric car test. Over at TFL Truck, we take the brand new Nissan Titan and find out how well it tows. Then over at TFLnow, yeah, we bought a new car and oh my God, it is a hot mess. And finally on Classics and TFL Off-Road, more at-home editions where we showcase your rides.
This car, when it was new, cost over $40,000, and Mini gave preference to the original owners of the first gen GP when it came to buying this Gen 2. And then there were a group of owners that got preference, so it's very hard to get your hands on these. But what made them special? First of all, the brakes on these are crazy. 6-piston in the front, huge discs. This was one of the fastest decelerating cars on the market in 2013. They stop incredibly well. Specific suspension, coil-over suspension. You can raise them and lower them about 0.8 of an inch. Very special wheels. These are the GP specific wheels, and on the used market, these are thousands of dollars if you want to buy them. Of course, you've got the GP graphics down the side, red mirrors. In the back, it had a specific wing. It also has underbody aeroflow protection, so these have 90% more downforce at 60 miles an hour.
Wait, hold on, Tommy. It's more than very specific wing. It's a carbon fiber wing, which is unique and expensive, but show them about the back seat.
Yeah, so this was all about lightweight. This was about 50 pounds or so less than the standard JCW. So they got rid of small things like the rear wiper, and the big things that are missing, there's no rear seat. Instead, they give you what looks like a brace, but is actually just a luggage retainer, basically, so the luggage doesn't go sloshing forward. But other things that are unique to the GP, special rear diffuser. Take a look at that. Looks like something straight off of a race car. And then inside, a bunch of changes. So you have the Recaro seats that are specific to the GP, red seat belts, no cruise control on the steering wheel. You have a thicker steering wheel here. All sorts of differences that make these cars special. And even though some of you out there may say, oh, it's not really a Porsche GT2 RS, is it? Well, for many people, this is the GT2 RS because these are highly, highly collectible. And the thing is with GPs, people bought them new, they were very expensive and very rare, and they were enthusiasts, so they drove them very carefully typically. Whenever you see these for sale, they are very low mileage, and they are babied. Everything has to be pristine. This one has 57,000 miles, which is a lot for a GP, and this one has probably had the hardest life of any GP ever, because it's kind of a disaster. The Mini GP has a pretty similar engine to the John Cooper Works model, which is to say quite powerful for its size. This is called the N18 engine. It's just a small 4-cylinder with a turbo, but it makes 211 horsepower, and you see more GP specific parts like the strut brace. Now all these parts seem like a small deal, but to many people they are very valuable, and there are a ton of GP clones out there because they are so rare. And rarity means they're actually pretty valuable. A typical 2013 Mini Cooper S might be worth 7 or 8 grand. A GP from 2013 is typically worth 20 to 30 grand. And then you're probably wondering, how much did we buy this one for?
Believe it or not, but this car popped up on Craigslist, so when I saw it, I immediately called Trophy Motors. They were advertising it for just about $15,000, and when I spoke to them, they said there were several things wrong with it. So let me go over those, and then I'll tell you how much we ended up paying for it. First and foremost, the dealership told me that this little ring around the headlight was loose, which it indeed is loose. They told me that they only had one key for it, which indeed they did, and these keys are about $300. Now they told me that the wheels were curbed, which is, I think, an understatement, because they are about as curved as I've ever seen, and all four of them are curved. They also told me that the car had an airbag light on, which it does, but it's only one of 3 others that are now on. They also said that the radio volume wasn't working, which they fixed. And finally, they told me that I'm buying it as is. And indeed, it is as is. So now let's go over everything that is wrong with it that somehow they didn't mention.
We bought this car with a squeaky clean title and an even better Carfax. Carfax says it's never been in an accident. However, the dealer said he did think some paint work was done on it, which I do believe, and I think it's probably had a shunt or two in its life. Now, in the front, there are a number of things that have gone wrong. First of all, the rear GP sticker here is starting to peel. These clamshell hoods are almost impossible to get to fit right if they're ever in any kind of shunt or accident. So here on the driver's side, there's a pretty big gap with the front left fender. But on the passenger side, there's almost no gap whatsoever. So I'm thinking this hood has probably been off the car at some point, maybe fixed or replaced. And the headlights, only one of them works. They're bi-xenon headlights, which is cool. Go ahead and flick them on, Dad.
I've really been wondering about this one, and I think there's a 50-50 chance that I'm right. And the question is, has the oil been changed? You think it's clean, or do you think it's dirty? Make your guess right now before I show you. Here we go. Yeah, that is definitely dirty oil. So that's also on our to-do list. You know, it's funny really, how do you forget to mention that like a $200 bi-xenon headlight isn't working? But there's more that they forgot to mention, like this. They forgot to mention that this chair height adjuster is unfortunately included with the car, but not attached to it.
Now, the dealership did tell us about the airbag light that is on, and indeed there is a fault with the airbag system. But there is more. For example, there's a tire pressure monitoring system light on. I checked all 4 tires. They're more than filled up, so that's broken. And they also said that they worked on the brakes before giving us the car. However, not 2 minutes into driving the car, the brake pad warning light came on. So we knew about 1 light, but now we have 2 additional on in the vehicle. The other thing about this car is there are a lot of just really tatty parts on the interior. Take for these super rare and expensive Recaro seats. We've got some stuffing coming out there at the bottom. They're also just super dirty and definitely scuffed up here on the bolsters. And then you get to the trim around the interior. I don't know who owned this vehicle or what they were doing, but it's peeling up here over on the door. It's also got super scuffed down here at the bottom of the door to the point where the plastic and leather is completely coming up. And then the actual dash itself is completely warped. These had really nice leather dashes, but it's coming up in spots and it's all just wavy and crummy. And then look at the center vent, like it doesn't fit in the dash anymore or it's been broken. It's just not very nice in here. I mean, these cars were such premium vehicles, but this one certainly doesn't feel it.
But there's a lot more. The wipers are completely shot. There's a really ugly crack in the windshield right here that's gonna have to be fixed. And weirdly enough, only one of the windshield wiper squirters works. Give it a shot, Tommy. Oh, now 3 of the 4 actually work. See, it's fixing itself. What a great car. The other thing that's really wrong with it is much of the rubber around this car is completely perished. If you look here, there's supposed to be rubber around the entire mirror.
And what's going on down here? Take a look at this.
Yeah, I know.
This is definitely a different, or maybe an incorrect
piece of trim?
Yeah, piece of trim. This is like the fender flare here. That's definitely not right.
It's another thing, the chrome on the door handle here is coming off, but here's my favorite part of this car, I think by far. It did come with new tires, But Tommy, show them the new tires.
They're HPZ01s, and they're made by a company called Advanta, which is a company I've never heard of. And when you've got a very high performance track car, it's very important you put on tires by a company that no one has ever heard of.
Yeah, I gotta figure that the tires were shot on the car, and when they saw that, they went and bought the least expensive no-name brand that they could put on it. Here's probably the most obvious clue that this has had a good shunt. This sticker and this sticker are different. In fact, you can tell they don't line up. This doesn't line up. This doesn't line up. Let me show you around the other side. Yeah, that's what it should look like. But having said that, if I look at the cut line, that also doesn't line up. So these stickers actually may have been replaced as well, or they're just peeling off. But that looks like the original sticker for sure. So here is the fender flare, and you can see there's like this little cosmetic, maybe it's aerodynamic flare on this one. And over here, it's completely missing, which also makes me wonder if the car had a shunt on this side. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. So after all of this, Tommy, how much did we end up paying for it?
$13,800.
There you go, $13,800.
Which is very cheap. It is very cheap. It's probably the cheapest GP in the country because, like I said, they're typically between 20 and 25 grand. But there's a reason it's so cheap, and it's definitely a case of buyer beware. Ideally, we would have flown down there, but given the current situation...
Yeah, we couldn't do that. But at this point, you may be wondering, how does it drive? So let's take it for a ride. So cosmetically... yeah, it's a bit of a train wreck. It has more lights on than a Christmas tree. And you might think all of that would be very discouraging. But there's one thing about this car that the dealer did say that is absolutely true. And let me show you what that is. And that is the fact that it drives like a dream. I mean, it is so much fun to drive this car. But we'll get to that in a second. Because it's more than just fun. Everything is laser tight. The steering doesn't shake. The brakes are eye-poppingly good. The transmission is fantastic. I mean, it's just so much fun to roll this thing, and the acceleration is a hoot. And it just holds the road, even on these mystery tires. So, yeah, there's a lot wrong with it, but by God, the bones of this thing are really good, and there is a lot right with it. Yeah, so I guess you might be thinking I'm feeling a little bit sad and disappointed about this entire list of repairs, but driving this thing certainly makes up for it. But how the hell was somebody able to put 57,000 miles on this and turn a car into something that feels like it has 157,000 miles? No clue how you managed that, but someone did it. Now, Tommy, you may be wondering, am I upset with Trophy Motors since they didn't disclose everything, or most things actually, that were wrong with this car?
Yeah, are you?
No, actually I'm not. You know, I expected as much. It's kind of buyer beware. We didn't have a chance to go and inspect it.
And it was so cheap there were going to be a lot of people lining up to buy this car.
Yeah, they said that there were two other guys who wanted to buy it. And so I'm actually super excited that we have the bones of a really good GP. So in the rest of the series, we're going to take it to our local mechanic and we're going to get all those lights sorted first. And we're going to see how much it's going to cost us to actually restore this incredibly rare and incredibly cool car back to something that would be worthy of making a video around.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's going to be a really fun one. We even have a really cool father-son comparison that's coming up soon, because I also bought a Mini, although much cheaper, and we're going to have a bit of a shootout comparison.
So we're going to see if we've actually lost money or made money, because so far we bought it for $13,800, then we paid $500 to have it shipped up here, which is actually really cheap, right?
Right.
So we're at $14,300 right now, and then we'll keep a running tally and we'll let you know just how much money we've put into it. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be at least $20K.
Well, be sure to stay tuned for that. And as always, this is Tommy.
And this is Roman saying thanks for watching. And yeah, this is exciting. You know, we got a good GP. It just needs a lot of TLC.
Yep. See you next time.